JP Morgan is building a brand new headquarters in New York, 270 Park Avenue in Manhattan. Whether that has something to do with it, spanking new super luxurious tall skyscraper, maybe. Most banks, what I know, will allow about 50% of employees to work from home, at least 2 to 3 days a week. That's the start. And you got to think, around these downtowns in the world's greatest cities, you have a network of supporting businesses, starting with food courts, with restaurants, with hair salons, dry cleaners, gyms. All of these would be impacted if the office worker does not return. So there's a lot more writing on this. I think in the long term, office work probably will be back in a substantial manner. Long term being, let's say, 5 years and beyond. All right, let's see where I can move on to the next business strategy and operations. So digitalization has really accelerated, as I already spoke. Maybe it's worth mentioning the collaboration tools, such as even the one we're using now. Before the pandemic, the most typical form of collaboration would have been a conference call. You would distribute a slide deck, and then people will call in and maybe talk on the phone and discuss it that way. Video is now common, and it's also common to speak with clients immediately on video for the very first time you speak to them. And that's happened to me multiple times. It is an improvement. Also, what has happened is the further adoption of mobile and online banking, already adopted by the young crowd, now maybe the people 55 and over who were previously hesitant to try online banking, they have now come on board. They almost had to, because many bank branches were closed or it was difficult to get to with all these pandemic restrictions and so on. An interesting aspect of the change in the strategy in this environment is supply chain management. Globalization has been the ruling paradigm, I'd say easily 30 years. Now we have had border restrictions. We have had rising tensions between the Western world, US and Western Europe, and China being a major supplier for a myriad of things from biotech to electronics and so on. What supply chain management experts are speaking about these days is regionalization, how I can pronounce that word. That is creating a regional hub, for example, Western Europe, that could be Eastern Europe, Romania, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Ukraine, Turkey. You could set up regional production hubs in those regions to supply the high-income markets in Western Europe. In North America, that could be Mexico, which is already happening. That's also called nearshoring. Basically, again, set up production hubs in Mexico in larger numbers, this already is, and reduce dependence on China. It is the rise of the so-called China plus one supply chain management policy and moving away from the just-in-time or lean manufacturing, which again has been the dominant paradigm for quite a few decades. And then moving on to the health and safety, obviously paramount concern for employees or customers. Health and safety, you can see in terms of, for example, in Germany, employers would give employees 1 free test a week. That's the fast antigen test, increased cleaning. But more importantly, employers have been really reaching out to employees with wellness campaigns, call-ins with executives, surveys of well-being, increasing, for example, psychological support options, and myriad of other avenues to improve the employee health and safety and well-being generally. And that will likely continue for some time to come. Financial strategy, that is a very interesting topic, and that's really what I have some firsthand experience in. Like in the 2008-09 crisis, early on in March, April of last year, we saw a massive scramble for liquidity. And you can imagine why. Like initially you have